Shravanam Diaries podcast.
Hare Krishna everyone. Today we're going to start the episode with a question. Question from Tulsi, who lives in Sukhareva. She's asking what to do, because we're emphasizing Shravanam, listening all the time. She says, she's asking what to do if it just comes into one ear and flies out through the other. Very funny. Yes, Jugala Priti Mataji said it's important to do Shravanam along with, meaning, and after Shravanam has to come Mananam, meaning you're thinking about it, and then Nididhyasanam, you're applying it in your life, and that's for sure. But another thing is that it's important that you discuss it with others, meaning when you hear something and then you immediately try to share it with somebody, not only you hear it again, but also when we speak to somebody, to anybody, we always share that heart-to-heart connection. So in this way, what you've heard, it comes from your ears into your heart automatically, because you're sharing it with the other person. You can't share it from your ear, you have to share it from your heart. That's just the way communication works. Chitta is right here. The third point, of course, you can write everything down and then read it again, and then definitely it would, make an impression, and memory, again, chitta, will start being activated, and then you'll be able to remember. What I would also suggest is, it's one thing when you're listening some lecture and you want to remember, it's another thing when you're reading and you want to remember. When you're reading an association of devotees, then you remember it. Like I remember we were reading Chaitanya Charitamrita with Yashashvini Mataji. It was a group of 5 devotees, and really, it was marvelous, because we would remember everything. Why? Because each one of us would read 2-3 sentences, and then we had to immediately say in our own words what we've just read. And then not only the person who was reading, but every single member of the reading circle had to say that in his own words, what the other person said. And it would be, it would look retarded, because we've just read that, Lord Chaitanya's, his chest is like that of a lion, and this and that. And then something else. And then the person has read it, and then it's time for everybody else to repeat, and they're like, what did you just say? It's like, what? It's really crazy when it comes to transcendental literature, that they're also personalities, they have their own abode with Lord Brahma. So yeah, there's a way to approach them, and there's a way to keep them inside of your heart. So with that, we're starting a new rubric. I don't know if you have that word in English, but in Russian it's called rubric of question and answers, because we've been having this podcast for quite a long time. It's 700 plus episodes, and I would be shocked if none of my listeners, and we do have some number of audience, I would be surprised if none of you would have any questions whatsoever, because that would mean that either you're self-realized, that you've already realized everything, or that you didn't understand anything what we've been talking about. So you don't understand anything, you don't even know what to ask about. Nothing is clear. Where do I even, So if nothing is clear for you, and you would like to specify or, clarify something that we are reading, you can send your questions to the email prasnasd@gmail.com. prasnasd@gmail.com. I will put that email in the description of the episode. And if you are tuning in to this insignificant podcast and you're already self-realized, well, I beg you, please ask questions, because your questions, just like, Parikshit Maharaj, he was asking questions. He was the devotee, or Arjuna. He understood everything, but he just wanted to ask so that others would hear. So you have to understand, like, I'm looking at the statistics of this podcast, and I see that there's a wide audience. A lot of Prabhus are here. Males between like 20 to 30, as well as from 40 to 50. Some ladies are also here, also kind of youngsters. Yeah, teenagers don't listen to our podcast according to the statistics. So it's like young adults and middle-aged people. Yeah, Matajis, some ladies are also listening, but like not many. I don't know why. Maybe they don't like my voice or something. Anyway, I'm joking. So then what we will do is we will collect all those questions. You can ask them personally, you can ask them anonymously, meaning you don't have to leave your name when you're asking question. And we will be reading these questions on Saturday. Every Saturday we will be reading. It will be like an extra bonus episode. We will be answering questions of our dear audience. And even if it will be one question, we will still have the episode on Saturday. Okay, so that's that. Now, continuing to read Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. Page number 398 in my edition, right? Because we stopped in the purport. Remember, we didn't complete the purport yesterday. So, generally, people are not educated. Okay, one last thing. Thing is that education involves question-answer. If there's no question-answer, it's not education. It's propaganda, or it's brainwashing, or it's like dictatorial, totalitarian obedience. You're not supposed to ask questions, you're supposed to just act. So education involves questioning and answering. Like, there's reciprocation involved. Hare Krishna. I mean, it sounds so silly that you have to mention it, but you'll be surprised, you'll be shocked how much misconception there is regarding to what education is. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They're educated in external knowledge. This is exactly what we're just talking about. External knowledge. People get education. And in external knowledge, maybe you don't even need to question anything, right? Like, my husband's a doctor, he's a dentist. So he finds it so, I want to say retarded, so stupid when, like, say people, they would come to him and say, so why are you doing this? Prabhu is looking at them, well, because I've studied for 6 years. That's why I'm doing this? Do you want to go through the entire 6 years and then ask me that question? It's like external knowledge, something you don't question, like a theorem of Pythagoras. Why? Well, it's a theorem. It's not a hypothesis of Pythagoras, Okay. But confidential knowledge, then you can ask questions, confidential. They're not going to tell you everything at once, right? Just like Lord Chaitanya was asked, who is a devotee? And he said, devotee is just somebody who said Krishna once, he's a devotee. And then they asked him second time, who is a devotee? And he's like, devotee, And then, like he would give different answers every time because, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into the same question because it's confidential. It's confidential knowledge. What do you expect? Like everybody will be like splashing out splashing out all of their secrets like all over the place as soon as you say why. Don't be silly, come on. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities But there is, unfortunately, no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. There's still no university. ISKCON is like functioning for the past 50 years and we still don't have university. We have academies, we have like institutes, but no university. Where is the university? Where's the Mayapur University? Mayapur Institute is there, Mayapur Academy is there, Bhaktivedanta Academy is there, like Smiths is there, schools are there, but like national school is there, but university is not there. It's just not there. Okay, so yeah, Krishna consciousness movement have been functioning for 50 years and there's no university. Shame on us. Okay, I should focus on what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Unfortunately, no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. This is, I would like to highlight. The most important part of the body is the soul. And that's why I think we were discussing like a couple of years ago that according to statistics, doctors, most of them are religious people because they understand that no matter what they do, if the soul leaves the body, they will not be able to do anything. And if the soul remains in the body, then they can save a person who's been shot dead in the head. They can still save the person because the soul is inside. Or if somebody ended up in a car crash and they went into coma, like my aunt, but the soul was still there and she was actually crying. You could see that, like the body of my aunt was lying down in the hospital and the body was crying even though she's unconscious, she's in coma. But then, anyhow, it's history. It's history. So the body has no value, the soul has. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the 2nd chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavanta ime deha nitya syokta sharirina. That is a confidential part of knowledge, part of body. That is a confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. This is also important. We're saying that the soul is that like this, like that, or she's not like this, she's not destructible, she's not mutable, she's eternal. But what about it? She's not this, but what is she? Sometimes, actually, the soul, in English, soul is like, English language doesn't have masculine or feminine or neutral genders, but in Russian there are genders to each letter. So soul, the word that means soul in Russian is dusha, and dusha is feminine. And interestingly, according to Vedic sciences, the soul is feminine also, because the soul is Prakriti of the Lord. He is the Purusha, she is Prakriti. So, congratulations, Russian language, you've got it right. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body, and that the body, when it is finished, the soul is different from the body, and that when the body is finished, or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually, that is not a fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom and the most confidential part of the spiritual knowledge. Let's read this again. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active, and its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. Wow. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. So this is what's confidential. Confidential is not some plan to destroy the world or attack another country. That's not confidential, because it's just something you try to do under the table. Real confidential, like top level confidentiality, top level secret, is what's going on behind the veil of the material world. What's going on between Krishna and his eternal associates? What's going on? We can't see. So that's why when we will start reading Srimad Bhagavatam reveals so much of these confidential and most confidential activities. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities, as explained in Vedic literature. In the Padma Purana, men's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. So don't think that you're doing karma kanda and you're doing something super pious. Nope. You're just entangling yourself. For instance, when the seed of a particular, I need light over here. I didn't turn on the big light and I keep reading different letters. It's written what is it written? Off, and I read or. Okay. Much better. When the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree, then it flowers and bears fruit, and when it is complete, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Isn't it? Like, if somebody is sowing the flowers or fruits, he's the one who is supposed to enjoy it, or he's the one who is supposed to offer it to Krishna, isn't it? Like, I remember my dad, when he bought the land for ISKCON Tajikistan, he was very, very happy. So it was like planting the seed into the earth, and it just blossomed like anything, and it gave such amazing fruits that Maharajas would come. Everybody would say it's the most beautiful temple in the entire Asia, you know? And then, like, he wanted Krishna to enjoy this temple. But then something happened, and something meaning some Mantara-like personality began to create politics, and then this beautiful fruit-bearing tree was uprooted, and everybody decided that it's a very good idea. But Krishna was supposed to enjoy it, not anybody else. My dad was the one who planted it, not anybody else. So, just like that. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results or the fruit of that action, sinful action, are still to be enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruit, which we are enjoying as distress and pain. As explained in the 28th verse of the 7th chapter, a person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful reactions, who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. So if you get reactions, means you're not actually engaged in devotional service. This statement is confirmed in the Padma Purana. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalon mukham kramenaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhaktiratatmanam. You want to know the translation of this verse? I'll read it tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Dandavats. Koti koti dandavats. Oh, and by the way, of course, the fact that we were discussing how sinful people are planting sinful activities, it has nothing to do with opening the temple, because opening the temple is in the sphere of akarma, it's in the sphere of transcendental activities, which to some people may look like the same thing, right? Devotees, they plant something, it grows, Krishna uproots it. And sinful people, they plant something, it grows, they enjoy the bitter fruits of their own sinful reactions, right? Looks the same, but in actuality, because it's done in Krishna consciousness, the result is different, because we are saying idam Krishnaya, idam namama. We're not enjoying whatever we're doing for Krishna. It's meant for Krishna to enjoy. So that's the difference. Thank you so much for tuning in today. The book links, previous episodes timeline, and biography of the author can be found on shravanamdiaries.com. The link is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.